Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to teach you how to do this DIY Dollar Tree Halloween art piece inspired by something I saw bigger. But you're going to need a picture frame. This one is a collage and it's square. You're also going to need these rope light LED lights. They're like rope lights instead of like the twinkle lights. You're also going to need some black paint. I'm going with the apple barrel because I know that it'll stay on the glass better. And as well as something for a backing. I'm choosing to use the silver metallic paper from Jot. And then you're going to need your hot glue gun as well as your scissor. And a printable. This one is actually just from Google. I searched Google Witch Cauldron Silhouette. And here is the inspiration piece. This is actually life size on someone's garage. And I was like, oh, how cute this would be for art. So I had this square frame from the Dollar Tree in my repertoire. But any frame will do. And as a matter of fact, we're going to just learn mostly the technique and not specific measurements or anything, okay? The rope lights, in full disclosure, I want to tell you that I'm going to tell you a story at the end where I kind of messed up because, you know, I like learn as I go. But I'm going to show you all the tips and techniques, and then I'm going to show you how I corrected my mistake. But this is really about glass painting. We've done glass painting before. We did it on our dream. We did it as well with a wall cling. We did it on one of the projects in the past, and yeah, I got all those playlists going on. Just check out my DIY playlist. How's that? So this kind of looks like I'm already done putting the rope lights on, and I actually didn't show you that footage because it's sort of like a waste of time because I ended up redoing it anyway, so I'm going to show you the redo part. But now we're just going to focus on the glass painting. So this isn't reverse glass painting. This is going to be glass painting. It's going to be painted on the outside for a dimensional effect. So what I've done is I've taped the image that I want to trace on the inside of glass, and we're just going to paint right over the outside of the glass. Now this is the fine tip paintbrush from the Dollar Tree. They have like a set of paintbrushes, craft paintbrushes, or artist paintbrushes, excuse me. I think that's what they called. And this is just the fine tip one. And this, like many projects that we do does not have to be perfect. It is super easy to just trace over all of the different areas. And you know, if your broom handle, as you saw mine, is not as skinny as the original broom handle, it still looks really good as a broom handle. I was going to teach you guys that you could use Sharpie, but the Sharpie is not opaque enough to cover the lights, the string of lights that's coming up. So I definitely want to show you glass painting. And any acrylic paint will paint on glass. Try not to water it down because then it might beat up off your glass. And make sure your glass is clean. I didn't clean mine because this glass frame is wrapped and it just didn't have any oily residues on it, and it just worked fine for me. So if you have fingerprints all over yours, or if you're recycling something, make sure you go ahead and give it a wash. Now this particular print that I had sort of, if you can see the white lines on the witches where it showed like was supposed to be like the witches where her arm meets, like the seams and stuff. I didn't find that necessary to keep. I just going for the solid silhouette. And like I said, the inspiration piece is actually a life-size cutout that somebody had on their garage door. I found it when I was scrolling on Pinterest, and I thought that was such an amazing look that I had to replicate it. Now, a couple of things that I found out is that this particular frame, you'll have to double up some of the extra lights, and I worked with it for so long that I actually killed my batteries. When I went to go get new batteries, I didn't have any new batteries. So the actual finished picture isn't as brightly lit as it would be when I finally get new batteries. So I have my lights there already, and I recommend putting your lights in ahead of time because as you see, I'm turning them on from time to time to see if I am getting the effect that I like, or if I have them positioned in the place that I like, or if I need to draw. The only thing that I did that was not just copying from the silhouette is I basically gave them a floor to connect so we can cover up the string of lights. And now I'm just drawing creepy trees. Now, there is really nothing simpler than drawing creepy trees. There really isn't. Because it's black paint, you don't have to worry about colors. And what I'm doing is I'm just taking my paintbrush. If you've ever done like marbling or veining for marble, if you've ever done anything, all I'm doing is I'm taking the paintbrush and I'm rolling it back and forth in my fingers. And I'm letting the bristles do all the work. You get plenty of paint on there because, you know, we're going to fill it in anyway. And that's how I got all those creepy branches. And the same thing with the edge of the tree. People are always like, oh, you're so talented. Yeah, because I can roll my paintbrush. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I grew up watching Bob Ross, and he teaches you how to make happy little trees. These aren't very happy trees because they're like dead witches trees, but it's the same effect, just with a different color paint. Okay. And then I wanted to make sure that I did one on the other side. That was what my technique was going to be, to kind of hide the lights and have like just a little bit of the orange glow on the back side of the tree. So that's why I didn't go all the way to the frame, as you see. I left a little tiny space, but enough that it disguises it, just lets some orange light come through. And then I'm going to repeat it on the other side. I thought making like a nice arch would be good. If you just want to put witches, I would just blow up the picture of the witches so they would take up the entire area of the glass, for sure. You could have done a moon. I could have done bats. I could have done anything that like witchy. I could have made a spider hanging from there. In fact, the inspiration piece, the witch doesn't have a lantern. She has a spider. The other one is stirring the pot. And you'd think it was almost the same silhouette except backwards, but it wasn't. Like I said, I just got a Google image and I printed it out. Now I've taken the paper off of the witches because then I can put a piece of white paper behind it and see where I've missed, where maybe the paint wasn't as thick, and I want to fill that in as well. So now I've just glued around the frame, and I've glued it to this silver piece of paper from the Dollar Tree, this poster board. But you want to make sure that when you glue it, you leave a little tiny space on each side, because I'll show you here, I think it's here, that I've taken, there's like a piece of glue that got basically lint or whatever that you got in there. I take a pipe cleaner and I go in there and I clean it out in case anything gets, while you're gluing, gets between the glass and the silver board. You can take a pipe cleaner or an extra piece of paper or whatever, and you can clean it out. And then I tested it and... Okay, stop everything. Jimmy gave me an idea, and I looked at the inspiration piece. So here's what I want to say. When I lit this up, let's light it up. When I lit this up, it wasn't really lighting behind the witches. And then I went editing the video, and when I looked at the inspiration, you can tell that there are lights right behind the witches. So we're going to redo it. Okay, so hang on. And there is the design process at work. So you do it, you play with it, you finish it, it's not to your liking, or you get a different inspiration, you can take it apart, that's fine. I used my X-Acto knife box cutter thing to slide under the paper, between the frame and the paper. Some of the glue stayed on the paper, some of the glue stayed on the frame, some of the paper stayed on the frame. But as long as you're going to reposition it back in the same spot, you won't notice it. As long as you don't cut the paper that was behind the glass, you're fine. So now I'm trying to make the light was brightest by the transformers. The transformers on this rope lights are the two little white ends. And the light was brightest there. So what I tried to do is I tried to fold the transformer, or I wanted to place the transformer under each witch, one on each side. It just didn't quite work out because the witches weren't as fat. Now, hindsight being what it is, and why you watch this video before you actually make it, is maybe you can get a silhouette of witches that are a little bit fatter, okay? And then I'm just using a combination of rubber bands and hot glue to position the ropes exactly where, the rope lights exactly where I want them to be, folded back on themselves and coming out from behind the witches. Now I'm using the clips of the picture frame, don't take those out, to hold the rope lights in place. As long as you be conscious of the way that the rope lights lay, they won't twist off on you. I mean, if that makes any sense. The clips will be fine. You don't have to glue them at all. But that's just, if you're having problems, you can go ahead and glue them. But if you see it, mine are just laying. I didn't glue them the first time. You might have to just fudge with them a little bit because the plastic tube wants to twist a little bit. And if you can get it to lay naturally, the way it wants to lay, then you can sit them right in the corners. And then I'm just, as I'm fudging with it, of course, you know, as I'm messing with it, it's getting all messed up. So I'm just going ahead back and adjusting it, fixing it accordingly. And this is where I realized that my batteries had started to die because there was almost no light coming through the rope. And at first I thought it was because I had bent the transformer, the tube around the transformer, but when I straightened it, it didn't make it any better. So I have to get new batteries. So I'm sorry it doesn't look its glamorous perfectness when it's done. But the other thing I wanted the transformers to do, which was on the first try, the first go around, the middle of the picture frame, there's nothing really keeping the cardboard from touching the glass. And that wasn't that objectionable. However, it didn't give that dimensionality. And because I used the silver metallic, it kind of had a mirror effect. So it almost looked like I had 4 witches once it's spread its space out. So now I'm just playing with it, and I'm taking my time and being patient, letting the glue set up before I let go. That's kind of important. The paper will help keep the rope lights somewhat in place, but you want to make sure that they're sturdy before you go ahead and put your paper on. And again, no matter how hard I tried to clear off the glass of all of the glue remnants, we still got glue remnants under there. So again, make sure you leave little openings on each side so that you can stick a pipe cleaner in there or a clean paintbrush and clean out any debris or dust particles that gets between the silver paper and the glass. I know it seems complicated, but whenever you do these, I mean, I hear from everybody and they do say like, oh, it looks so much simpler and I'm glad I tried it and all this stuff. So I really love to hear from you guys if you try it, and you know, just let me know if you thought it was easier or harder, or you know, there's no mistakes. While this paint is still wet, it washes up with soap and water. So if you're not loving the way it came out, you can go ahead and just wash it, and that would be fine. And if you ended up doing one of these on a grander scale, on a bigger picture frame, you can always use 2 sets of rope lights. And once we glue the back on, I think I'm going to show it to you. We're going to glue the battery pack to the back of the thing. That's just an option. You don't have to do that. You could use Velcro, but this particular battery pack actually has like a slide. You know, a lot of them have just the screw that holds them in. This one has a screw, but then you actually have to slide the battery pack open, so you don't need to put the screw back. So keep that in mind when you glue it down. If you do glue it down, make sure you glue it so that you can slide it. All right, and then I'm just going to glue around all of the sides, and again, leaving a little space on each side to just allow myself to fix whatever mistakes I might have under there. And I am going to have a mistake under there. You'll see it in a second. The first time it was like a big glob of glue, and I don't know how it got even there. Not a glob, but like when you peel off glue from places and sometimes they just fall all over. They're like static cling. Yeah. That was the first time what was in there. And the second time it ended up being something very similar. But I just took a pipe cleaner, bent it to my will, and used it as like a broom to get in between the glass and the paper and clear out everything that I needed. And that's it. Yeah, and it's not even like 100% necessary. It's just me and my perfection look that I wanted to make, you know, to make sure that it was all okay. And I'm just gluing the battery pack on. Like I said, I was planning on putting this on a plate stand. So if you do, keep in mind of which plate stand you're going to use, and to make sure that the battery pack is not in your way. Same thing with if you're going to hang it. I would put it in the center of something so it doesn't hang. It'll hang away from the wall evenly. And that's it. So here's what it looks like with no batteries. No, I know the batteries are like really dim. Hey, but it's bright up. It's lit up behind the witch. We can give you that much, right? And that's what it looked like before, and this is what it looks like after. Again, it's not as bright as it was before, but follow me on Instagram and I'll share it with you when I get new batteries. But here's how it looks like with no lights, and I love it. So I hope you do too. If you have any questions at all, leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Share with friends and family, anybody you know who might be interested in making something like this using glass painting techniques. Anything like that. And if you haven't yet, click subscribe, and when you do, a little bell will pop up. When you ring that bell, YouTube will let you know whenever I upload a new video. And as always, you take care, God bless, and we'll see you next time. Bye.